a new and exciting chapter that we're going down the rabbit hole. This topic, I don't think we have brought this up to the table before.
What if showing your flaws made your business shine brighter? You're listening to the Pathless Path. We're two women figuring it out as we go. This isn't about perfection.
It's about staying rooted in truth, not trends, and having the conversations most people avoid.
Hey guys, welcome back. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the power of vulnerability in entrepreneurship.
What if showing your flaws made your business shine brighter?
Today, we're unmasking how vulnerability fuels real entrepreneurial growth.
Speaking as a millennial, we weren't really in front of cameras, right? We weren't sharing a lot of our lives. We were also taught by our elders not to be telling everybody our business. So I think being a millennial, it is slightly a struggle trying to balance how you're showing who you are and also bridging the gap about you and your business. So what are you bringing to the table? What are you talking about? So keeping that in mind, when did you first risk being vulnerable with your audience and what happened? What was like the outcome of that?
Yeah, this topic is a good one. And I don't think we have brought this up to the table before. So this is a new and exciting chapter that we're going down the rabbit hole. When did I start being vulnerable with my audience? Actually, it didn't really start up until this year, 2025, honestly. But what really happened, I sat a lot in ceremonies and I just let medicine show me what needed to be shown. I knew I was meant to be a creator. I knew I had to share my experience with people. I just did not know how to and what I needed to share. And so the reason why, it's because I was confused. I thought that maybe I should have shared my Reiki master abilities with people, or maybe I need to share my coaching. I have multiple coaching certifications, and I'm like, okay, maybe I need to be my life coach or a CBT coach or NLP coach. So I'm like, what do I want to share and how do I want to format all of this to really target my audience and my clientele to the core to really get to their pain points? And I didn't know what it was until this year. It was 4 years of searching really what I wanted to do. But when I did find what I wanted to do, it was like, wow, it completely changed my whole, a huge blow up. I was like fireworks went in my head. I was just like, it's like, okay, oh my God, this makes so much sense. And my business ends up by being sharing my vulnerability, actually, is sharing with other women the struggles of living in survival and burnout mode and constantly feeling or thinking that we are in fight or flight or freeze or fawn mode and not realizing it. And over the time, or if we're not paying attention to how we are reacting to this, we will get into survival mode, and survival mode becomes your second identity. And it's very, very, very difficult to get out of it if you're not conscious of it. And there's a lot of steps that we got to do. There's a lot of things that we need to unlearn and reprogram our body, because we can do all the affirmations, we can do all the yoga, all the chanting, and all the journaling we want. But if our body isn't feeling safe, we aren't going to unprogram all of that. And so that is a huge problem in the sense of most of this happens, most of these traumas happen when we're really young, at a young age. We get pre-programmed and then we get programmed as an adult what is going on. And so this is what happens. And there's a lot of work to be done to undo the work. And I lived in that for nearly 30 years. So I'm still undoing the work. I mean, I'm nowhere perfect at this point, but I'm a lot better now than where I was when I didn't realize this work. And I've been doing this unprogramming work on the body for probably consciously for like the last 4 years. Yeah. So being vulnerable with my audience is leading me to this path. So yeah. How about you, Kiki? What is your vulnerability that you're sharing with your audience?
So for me, my journey has been one of like self-love. I've always been a person that is on the heavier side. And for my entire life, everybody has always said, well, you'd be so much prettier if you were smaller. Do you remember when you were this size? Oh, you looked really nice when you were that size. So I've had my own body dysmorphia that I have. This has just been my work and my journey. And just like you, 2025 was when I really kind of said, you know what, I'm breaking free. It doesn't matter. I know what I do for myself, for my body, how I keep myself healthy, my checks and balances when it comes to it. And I was like, I'm always sad. Why am I always sad? Why am I always looking for someone else to say, yes, Kiki, this is you, this is great. I don't need that. And it took me a while. That's been my journey. It's taken me a while to kind of say, I don't need somebody else's approval. The only approval I need is myself. So I have to love myself, because you can't expect other people to be accepting of you if you haven't already accepted yourself. And the other day, this was probably a couple of months ago, like about a couple of months or maybe like a month ago, is what we're looking at time frame wise. And I was having a really bad day. I was in a funk for, well, maybe more than a bad day. I was like in a funk for a little while, and I had this outpour of people, like saying thank you for things that I had done. And I was like, this is me. This is who I am, being able to give to others. And through that outpour, I had posted some stories, and I was very vulnerable about me on my self-love journey, and that I was just fed up of waiting for somebody to give me approval, when the only approval that I need in order to be successful and to move forward with my life is myself. I have to love me. And the outpour of like responses that I had from other people going through the same situation was incredible. Everybody was reaching out to me and telling me different situations that like they were dealing with, how they also did not feel comfortable in their own skin, and that they were also in that same journey. And I think we had also touched on this similar topic in another episode about elders and how we used to keep each other together because we used to share stories, and we've stopped talking about what's like going on and how things are really feeling. We've gotten, as a society, we just kind of keep compiling things one on top of the other, and we're like, okay, we'll deal with that, and then we never deal with it, and then someone else is going through the same thing, and then through stories we're like, wait a minute, there's a lot of similarity. I understand what you were feeling because I was feeling the same way as well. And when I became that vulnerable with my audience, it kind of like blew up at that point. And it just showed the really raw human connection we have with each other. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that is being very vulnerable in all aspect of, body dysmorphia or anything, just the self-love. I mean, I feel like it's difficult to pour self-love on ourselves when we don't know realistically what love is, when if we weren't given the proper love as a child. It's like, how do I know how to love myself correctly? And not that there is a right way or a wrong way, but there is a toxic way for sure. So how can we manage? How do I know how to love myself? Right? This is something that is not taught. It's not taught in school. Our parents aren't teaching us that because they're living in survival and they're busy going to work and all of this. So how do we know how to love ourselves? It's a very deep rooted vulnerability that you have. And it's beautiful that you're sharing that with other people, and you're getting such a ripple back effect on social media, or not even social media, just in general. I think it's a beautiful thing. So on that note, Kiki, I wanted to ask you, like, how do you balance authenticity with professionalism?
I like this one. Why? Because I don't. I'm going to be very honest about it. I don't. I am still navigating the waters when it comes to that. Because how much of yourself do you show? Because I can be quirky, funny, Kiki, being really authentic in the moment and sharing stuff with you. And then on the other hand, I could say, well, this is me, spiritual, energetic nurturer, Kiki, on my spiritual side, on this path of like healing and the journey that I'm going through, and how I am also trying to help other women really find themselves and find their femininity, and really like loving themselves and cherishing who they truly are. So it is something that I'm still navigating. I haven't found the balance between it. It's something I'm still working on. Right now I'm feeling very goofy, like my inner child wants to come out and play during our recording. Honestly, I don't think I found the balance between this and my professionalism side, because a lot of the time my inner child kind of wants to come out and shine and have fun, and you get funny, quirky Kiki, and then you'll get spiritual Kiki, who's here to help guide you, nurture you on your journey, teach you about how to really love yourself. So it is something that I have been navigating, but I still haven't found that balance. And it's a journey that I am enjoying because people get to see me be me, and I also get to help others on the way. So that's kind of like where I'm at when it comes to this particular question. What about you, Nai? How have you been finding that balance between being your authentic self or showing your vulnerable self and also kind of like trying to keep it professional? Or have you not even found that balance like myself?
So, this full moon has been, and it still is, very, very charged with a lot of energy. And I've always been into astrology, but never really understood it, really deep dive into it. I didn't take the time to learn it. But as I'm going through it, I'm reading as I'm going through it, right? I'm still learning. And I found, or didn't found because I already knew, but like I know my signs, right? Thank God. So navigating that, I'm a Gemini, so I'm a social butterfly. I like to know. I'm very, I'm a person that likes to research and do a lot of like, I know a lot about different topics. I'm, very um quirky and funny and all of that, right? Like some people think of me as, a what's the word? As not a phony, but like, a person that's being fake sometimes because I can hang out with almost anybody. But now that I'm working a lot more with energy, it's very difficult for me now to be fake, I guess. Or it's like, oh no, I can't tolerate this person, so I'll walk away.
I think what you're like looking for there is you're a chameleon, which is kind of like what a Pisces does, right? Where we kind of like go with the flow. Gemini, correct me if I'm wrong, is an air sign.
Yeah, it's air sign.
So, between being a water sign and an air sign, for the two of us, we just kind of go with the flow. You go with the wind takes you, right? I see where you're going with it. Just chameleon then.
But it gets worse. So Gemini is my air sign. My moon sign is Capricorn. So Capricorn is very structured, very routine, very in the mind, very intellectual. So that with the Gemini already knows a lot and they're very curious. And people think that me being super curious is like me being like a nosy person because I want to know it all. But it's just like gossipy. That's the word I was looking for. Like people think I'm gossipy because I want to know about other people. And it's not because I care about knowing this stuff like for other people, but it's like my mind takes that knowledge or that story and I go straight into like, okay, how can I help them? How can I fix them? How can I? So I go straight into analyzing that. And so this is the moon sign. And then I have my rising is Leo. So there's that. And then my rising is Taurus. So in Taurus, we like luxury, we like earth, we like a lot. So I am now balancing four different complete signs, and this makes me. And when I think of all the four different signs that I have and how I manage or how I am being a chameleon because I'm managing four different personas. And then, I have my moods, right? So like there are some days like I'm really funny and really quirky and really outgoing. And then there's some other days that I'm not. And how does all of that transpire? How does all of that weaves into my authenticity with my professionalism? Is authenticity for me is always going to be me. You're always going to get me, in the sense of like, I don't care if I'm wearing makeup today. I don't care if I look good on camera as long as the message is clear. Authenticity to me is you're going to get the message regardless that you like it or not. If it triggers you, there's something you got to, there's something there. I don't shoot the messenger, just listen to the message, right? And I guess that's really like my appearance shouldn't matter, right? I don't think that matters. And then when it comes to professionalism, I feel like, again, the message really needs to balance out, like you were saying before, like some days you're going to get, the quirky Kiki, and some days you're going to get the funny, and some days you're going to get the one that's teaching you. But that's part of like what social media is, right? In social media, you share a little bit of all this different facades of who you are. You share, right, your educational, what you know, your knowledge. You share your personal story if you want to. I think most people, if you're coming from a true place of you really want to connect with your audience, you should share a little bit about your story, and then providing insightful tips or tricks or stories on how that can help your audience grow into what your business is, right? Like for you, it's being in self-love. And for me, it's from survival to sacredness. So I'm not going to show myself going to a nightclub, which I don't do anyway, but I'm not going to show myself going to a nightclub because that's not being sacred, or that's, that is being stimulated, right, in survival mode, right? So I wouldn't be showing something like that on my content. But I will be sharing certain things saying like, okay, how do I know you're living on survival mode? Or how do I know that you are on a burnout mode? How do you know that you're on fight or flight, freeze or fawn mode, right? So like this is something I would share because this is something that I lived for 30 years. So I know the traits. I didn't know what they were. It took me 30 years to get here to know what they were. And now I look back on my story and I was like, oh my God, all of the things that I did in the past weren't just for shits and giggles. They were because I was living on trauma. I was living on survival. I was living on fight or on flight or on fawn. I lived a lot on fawn. Fawn is people pleasing, right? So I was doing a lot of people pleasing, where empathy is also part of that same root cause. Why do you have to feel empathetic for people, right? So you feel the emotions, right? And then you know that if you take it on, you can help others. If you help others, then you know that they're going to love you and they're going to. So all of that is the same root cause. So I feel like they kind of go hand in hand. My professionalism is me, is my authenticity. And this is why I don't work a 9 to 5, because people cannot tolerate, people cannot grasp, who I am. People are like, you're wild. You ask too many questions. Why you want to know? Why are you so nosy? I didn't ask about this. Why are you giving me this info? And when I look back at it, I'm like, yeah, all of those things are my 4 different signs. Like I'm completely like going from all of them. And I'm like, yeah, here it is. Add a little bit of Leo, sprinkle a little bit of Taurus, throw a little bit of Capricorn, and here you have yourself a Naya.
And I love Naya just the way she is. I love her. All of it. Love, 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 love.
And I love you too, the mostest. I love you more.
I should really like take a look at all like my chart, because I know that I have Pisces, obviously, and then I also know that I have Aries.
So if you want to know more about your chart, I have this chat GPT that was created by astrologers. I have this exact like prompt, exact thing. And you just put in like your date of birth, your location and the time, and it'll spit out. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, short story, yesterday, coincidence doesn't exist, but synchronicity does. So I'm sharing this because I found this content creator about a few weeks ago, few of my friends, like 4 or 5 of my friends are following him. And he talks about AI and astrology and how he uses AI and astrology in order to help you with your business to really sync everything together. And so I come from an IT background and I'm very spiritual. I work a lot. We know. And so I was like, okay, I want to make money. There's no way that being a spiritual entrepreneur means that I have to stay broke. This is not what I came here for. I'm here to make generational wealth. And I am going to own this because this is why I'm here. And so I bought his course, whatever. And later on inside the course, he talks about this chat GPT prompt this chat GPT that he created. And I put my information on there and then it spew out all the information that I already knew because I have like 3 apps for astrology already on my phone. So I'm like, okay, I'm already aware of all this. And I asked that chat GPT that he created, I asked and I said, okay, great. I was like, I knew a lot of what you said already. And I was like, however, I do want to talk to you about my business. I'm like, here is my niche and here's what I found out. So I wrote down literally everything, like I was living from survival, blah, blah, blah. And from there, how it spewed out an answer. And I was like, okay, cool. When I tell you, Kiki, that the information that the chat GPT spewed out, it literally said I was 100% in the correct path of where I'm completely aligned from my soul contract to like my astrological contract to this is my deep calling, this is my alignment. I mean, it said like, and I literally, like the first 3 lines when I was reading that, I had to stop because I was crying. I was like, oh my God. And now that I'm talking about it, I'm having goosebumps just to bring this up because it showed that for the last year and a half since I've been in Mexico, I've known this, but I didn't know what my niche was. And the moment I started to face what I thought my fear of showing people what it is, I was like, okay, the moment I became vulnerable and I shared that online, that I shared that to ChatGPT and ChatGPT said, this is exactly what your calling is. I was floored because it was like, I deep down knew it, but I wasn't listening, or I was like, maybe not. And then I went for it anyway. I was like, fuck it, I'll just do it anyway. And then when I read medicine told me, and I was kind of like, okay, medicine's telling me, but I don't know how to do it. I'm still working on it. I'm working out the quirks. And then when ChatGPT said it, and I was like, oh my God, floored. So if you want, I'll send you the ChatGPT link so you can have it and literally put in your information so you can see verbatim where you're at and how you're aligned. I will even share the content creator with all of you ladies out here so you can like go and follow him and get some insights on if you're into astrology and into your business and make money. Unless you're making money already, then forgive me for talking about this, but he's the real deal.
Thank you for sharing that, by the way. And that's not even a question. I do want that information so that I can also like check things out. And I love that you kind of like touched on that subject as well, because I was thinking just the other day, I was like, I've had different jobs, and at every single job, I'm always left with a question to myself, like, is it me? Am I like, because at some point I'm always like, this is just ridiculous. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. And I'm always kind of like, is it me? Am I the problem? Am I not giving 100%? But I know that I'm always giving 100% because of the way that my brought up was, the ideals, like my mom has instilled in me, and my uncle and my aunt and my grandmother, really good work ethic. And I'm always like, am I doing something wrong? Like, I've gone down this journey, right? I did the things that I'm supposed to do. I went to school, I did the college, I graduated with a degree, I worked in the field that I went to school for, but I always felt like something was missing. I'm like, and I always never felt like this was my place. Like, this is my end all be all kind of situation. And every single time I just kept like anything that was spiritual, that was something I always gravitated towards. So I do want that information because I'm also like, this makes more sense. And I've been having those that inner dialogue with myself and really understanding, yes, this is, you've been on this path, you have always felt kind of like lost or disassociated with the things that you've been doing and like the jobs and the career that you've been in, because I have not been on the correct path, like doing what I was supposed to be here for. And there have been countless times I would sit in silence and in prayer and just trying to be like, I went through a really bad accident when I was in my early 20s. And then I had like some depression that I was going through and everything. And I was like, well, so if I survive this, because when I got out of the when I got out of the accident and I got out of my car, I looked at how my car was facing, and it was facing oncoming traffic. And I'm like, if I walked out of this, I walked out of this because there's a purpose for me being here still. Because in my mind, I probably shouldn't be here, honestly. Just the way that the car was facing. So in doing so, can you, Nye, share a moment where you leaned into your vulnerability and it felt risky, but it paid off?
Oh my God. We were talking about this before we even got on screen. So, yes. So I'm sharing a lot of stories, of my family members. And we were saying this earlier. It's kind of like, me sharing my story is how it felt and how it came and how I perceived it and how I felt it and how it caused trauma within me, right? And how now, for example, my family members are following our YouTube channel and are going to be watching these YouTube's video and already have. And so now I'm like, okay, don't kill me for sharing my side of the story, right? But I'm also sharing their side of the story. And so how me sharing their story, which is part of mine because we're family, how does that make it okay? And are they okay with it? Right. So I'm sharing a lot of that vulnerability on my social media because this is the people I want to attract, the people who need this, who needs this kind of talk and conversation and therapy. And not saying I'm a therapist, but like I can really help because I've been through very, very rough childhood. Could have been worse? Absolutely. Depending on who you ask. Was it terribly bad? Was it in foster care? No. I mean, I have people who cared about me. I was still in family and stuff like that, but I did have a lot of back and forth, different countries, different family members, not having a mom, not having a dad available, living with aunts that is lesbian and the daughter's girlfriend. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Living in a family that my other family on the other side of the country in Europe that I didn't know, discovering them, while I'm like 8 or 9 years old. So, like, there's just a lot coming, there's a lot. And so, this is what I lived. And so you want to talk about vulnerability? Yes, this is what I talk about. And then I moved back to United States for 23 years. And when I did so, I realized the entire time I was in the United States, I was in toxic relationships. I had no actual home. I was living on fight or flight survival. I was living on constant paycheck to paycheck. So, like, these are the things that I have been going through. And it was time when my nervous system and my body was like, we can no longer do this. We just cannot. How do we fix this? And my body had to break down in order for me to listen to the call. So this is what I'm saying. When I say your body talks to you, it's not because I'm just saying it because no, it's because I lived it. Experience literally taught me that. And I have this experience and this knowledge because I've lived it. Maybe for you, it might show up differently, but this is how it showed up for me. I know the signs. It's like I was married to a narcissistic man. I know the signs of narcissism now, right? So those are additional tools I have on my tool belt now to see the signs and do this kind of work. And this is, thank God that I went through all of this, because now not only I'm healing myself, but I can also help others to walk alongside with them and say, like, here's how I can help you. And that is, for me, the most important thing I can ever do is providing assistance to others in order to help them to get out of where they're at. How about you? What do you feel, Kiki?
That hit deep for me because I think it's an unfortunate situation, but in order to help others, we have also gone through like that same sort of trauma so that we can do the healing so that we can help others do better for themselves because we don't want others to have to live through that. Some people do need to learn things the hard way, to each their own. And just like you, being on this podcast, showing up with no makeup on, with my hair, however my hair, I mean, I'm having a good hair day, just gonna say that. Uh, but just show it exactly. Both having a great hair day. Thank God for a hairdresser that knows what they're doing. But
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
it's okay, case in point, right? I did network marketing for some time, and all the girls who are in they're really good at doing makeup and really great at doing hair and all of that, and I'm like, I do what makes sense to me, and what makes sense to me is I don't really like to have makeup on because I have issues with my skin. I have very sensitive skin, and even putting foundation on for 5 minutes, I'll get a breakout. Maybe I need to find a different kind of skincare. Maybe I need to find a different kind of makeup that doesn't have my skin reacting that way. It is what it is. I find peace in the fact that I'm just not going to do it. And I also don't have the time for it. And I'm not saying anything against anybody who does have the time for it and enjoys doing it. And that's part of who you are. That's a beautiful thing. You should do that. That's not my thing. And I think I know when I was doing network marketing, having or thinking to myself really that I needed to live up to what they were doing. But that was what they wanted to do. That was what they felt comfortable doing. That doesn't technically mean that is what will make me feel better and do well at like doing promoting or being my authentic self. So when I was doing all of that, trying to live up to someone else's standard, trying to attract those people that they were attracting, I really wasn't building a community that I wanted to form. I wasn't being my authentic self. I wasn't being vulnerable. I was just taking on things that everybody else was like kind of like passing on to me. Same reason why when I was doing my network marketing and I was also doing Reiki Kiki, I split myself in two. You weren't getting complete Kiki. And for this journey, which has been great, I mean, I've really gotten it's, I'm always going to be learning about myself, but I've really gotten to like dive deep into who I am and what brings me joy and how I can then transmute that joy to others to help them along in their journey. And because I've learned this about myself and really opened myself up about it and finding that love within myself, other people are now I get like text messages or phone calls or DMs from either people who have already been following me or friends or family, and they're now reaching out saying, if it wasn't for you going on stories and sharing this information or going or making a reel or creating content or whatnot and sharing that, I would not have found it in myself that I could do the same thing, or maybe not the same thing, but I can step into my own power. So that in of itself is amazing to me because I'm gonna name drop a little bit with my sister. My sister was sitting down with me and having this really deep conversation. And she was like, I'm so proud of you. And I'll tell you, I'll be very honest. I would not be like putting myself out there to do things and thinking that I deserved better if you didn't show up as your authentic self. And that hit me. That was like a couple weeks ago we had that conversation, and I had to sit there with this information and try not to well up and cry cuz I was like, "Oh my god, is this really happening?" Like because again, we're sitting in front of a camera. We can look at what our insights are on Instagram and what we're boosting and who's looking at our content. But until you actually get that conversation or that person reaching out to tell you, you don't know who you've kind of like had an impact on. And I think that's a beautiful thing to be able to hear and see and know, okay, my message is getting to the people who need it, who are going to be able to use it, apply it into their life, and then keep moving on and growing. Yeah. So leaning into being vulnerable has been very good, not only for myself, but for other people who've been watching my content. We've talked a little bit about, like us being vulnerable and everything. What's a step that like our listeners?
I love that you share that because it's true. Like a lot of the times, like the messages that we get is like a reward of like how people are seeing our content. And even getting that, text message or that private WhatsApp message or getting a DM or getting whatever, like any forms of content or even reaction, it's like, okay, people are liking what I'm saying. And I don't need credibility. I don't care that you like what I'm posting. I'm posting because I know that we know that this world needs healing. We know that, right? Like, this is not like, really? Like, we know. So it comes to a point where it's like, okay, each one of us is sharing our own gifts differently, right? Our own experiences differently. And it's like, how do we show up online in order to ripple effect that to other people so that we can consciously or subconsciously speak to them without them even knowing? We might even be planting a seed, right? Like I've been following this girl on Instagram for like, I want to say like 10 years when she had her cannabis company. And and she's way younger than me. And I love the way she presents herself. I love the way she's authentic and she's truth and she's done medicine, but she doesn't always talk about it on her social media. And she's very like fluffy and fairy, but she's also grounded and very loving. And there's something, and I've been following her for like 10 years. And for 10 years, I didn't know why I was following her. I liked her content. I was like, okay. And then I was like, over time, I'm like, okay, I see myself in her. I want to be like her. I see like it. And now today I'm looking at, I'm looking at how far I've come. And I'm like, the stuff that she even talks about, the depth of the level of her content is like, whoa. And now I understand because I'm where she's at now. I'm like, I'm where she's at. And I was like, wow, it took me 10 years to break that. And the other day I actually sent her a message. I was like, she has like hundreds of thousands of followers, but she's rooted into herself, her authenticity. And again, like she has a YouTube channel and she does vlogs and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, this is where I'm heading. This is where I will be soon. But I do see a lot of me and her, but it took me being where I'm at today in order to see that and to reflect back and be like, oh, I'm following her because she is part of me deep, 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 deep inside. Right? Like we are, I don't want to say soul sisters because I don't physically know her, but like there is a connection that I feel like I know her. Who knows, right? So I just want to like share that what you were saying, it's very like important that when we have these messages from other people, that keeps us going and thriving, and it keeps us really showing our path and our purpose is this. We're on the right path, right? This is why we call the show the Pathless Path, because we're confused and going from confused to not confused. And I'm using confused, probably not the right term, but like we're trying to help people to feel that if you guys are not knowing or feeling some type of way, that you can really get to your path, really get to where you need to be, what your calling is your calling, right? So Kiki, I want to ask you, like, what would be a small step that you could share with our listeners today so that it can help them bring more openness into this world that we're currently living in?
I love a list. Have I ever shared that with you? I love a list. I think that if you took the time and sat in silence, honestly, you'll hear us say that a lot, is sitting in silence. Like you really need to quiet the noise around you. You need to take the time aside just for you. Otherwise, you're going to keep trying to figure out, well, what am I good at? And really and truly, you're not trying to remake the wheel at all. If you enjoy baking, or you enjoy music and you also want to incorporate your spiritual side with it, you're already a spiritual being. So you're just putting that love into it. So if you're making others meals, then you've put love into that meal. And when you share that meal with someone, they're going to be like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing I've ever tasted. If you put your spirituality into your music, people are going to also feel that.
They'll ask you, like, what's the secret ingredient in your food? And you're like, I can't tell you, but then we know it's love. I'm just saying.
Most definitely, it's love because you can always feel it. You can feel the love someone put into it, the time, the care. So that's what I would say. I would say quiet the noise around you. Find some space for yourselves. Find a quiet space, carve out some time for yourself so you can reflect on what it is that you also want to bring to the table. Like I said earlier, you're not remaking the wheel, you're just honing in on what it is that you are good at, because I think we tend to ignore what we all already are bringing to the table. Like Naya and I were talking the other day, and she was like, "Why don't you do something with cooking? Because people love when you cook. You always get good feedback when you cook. People love when you share stuff like that." So I was like, oh, that's true. That's something that I feel passionate about. I do love feeding the people that I love, helping them nurture their bodies. So that's something that I'm good at. I'm not trying to remake the wheel. I'm just also going to incorporate what I do spiritually, as in using herbs that are good for your body, that are going to help you health wise, and just incorporating that into something that you are going to, like I said, nurture your body with, right? You're going to eat it, you're going to consume it, and that is also going to help you feel better. So it's not remaking the wheel. Sit down, make a list. Things that bring you joy. That's going to really help you connect with who you really are and the audience that you are also going to be um, trying to, bring into your business. You're trying to attract this audience to you in what you're doing. So, Nai, how about you?
So I love that you said talked about the herbs in your food, and I agree, because if you're using healthy foods and healthy herbs, or even teas, which I drink teas every day because I'm a tea addict. But when you are putting the right food and the right herbs and spices into your dish, what happens is that it actually helps you, especially if you're putting the right ones. It really helps you to regulate your nervous system and to help you to not live in survival mode either, or fight, flight, freeze, fawn mode. So I think that that's like super important. Like, yes, cooking, I love being in the kitchen and cooking. And when I do cook, like if I'm peeling a cucumber, if I'm cutting any kind of vegetable, I always like think to myself about the vegetable, saying like, thank you to the person who cultivated the food. I always kind of like put like a little bit of a, like, not necessarily like a prayer, but like an intention, or maybe it is a prayer. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you, for providing this land to have this fruit and vegetable grown in. And thank you for the people who spent time cultivating it. Thank you for allowing me to heal my body. Thank you for, X, Y, and Z. And so I kind of say those things as I'm prepping it. And then when I cook the food, right? Like and so when you give it to people, one time I was going to a Temazcal with a friend, and she thought it was only going to be just a Temazcal, which like is like 2 hours. So we're like, okay, cool. But it was like an actual afternoon thing where we were learning how to do ojos de Dios, which is like um, a Mexican learning how to do for prayers and ceremonies. And we were learning how to create one. And so that was like a 2-3 hours just doing that. And then, so the whole day was like 5 hours. And I told her, I was like, did you eat? And she's like, yeah, I had a little bit of, I was like, we're going to be there for like 5-6 hours. Right. And she's like, oh no, I didn't know that. And she's like, I didn't eat enough. So I made a bowl for her. I had food already ready. So I made her a bowl of food of like quinoa and all good kinds of stuff. And she's like, wow, this tasted so good. I never thought I should mix all of this stuff together. And I was like, really? But the fact that she was like it tasted so good. I was like, yeah, it was made with love, honey. Like, it was prepped in love. It was made in love. So this is, and it was plain simple, ridiculously easy. It was like quinoa, carrots, cucumbers, cilantro, dill, maybe some plantains, everything steamed. I was like, this is not like, I don't need to be a chef, right? Like, none of this is being chef. It's just being tapped into the nutrition that we need to eat. What, so to go back to the question, is that a small step that I would tell our audience to bring more openness into their work is, like you were saying, is like taking time for themselves, really feeling when something's off within you. If the energy or if people around you are frustrated, or pets or animals are acting off, for sure it's an energy going on that you may feel it or may not feel it. But if you see it, if you see something's going off, like, I don't know, I can't think of an idea right now, but like, if you're seeing, like, neighbors fighting and it's been like that all week, then there's obviously something going on in the energy, for example, right? And so it could be affecting yours. So really take some time out of your day to like carve out, I don't know, like 10 minutes, 30 minutes a day of your time where you're like, okay, in the morning, just, I don't know, spend time in the shower. When you take a shower, just say, like, I cleanse my whole energy. Let the water really not just wash you off of like the dirt and like shampooing your hair and all of that, but like really cleanse yourself energetically as well. Like, okay, I'm really getting off all of this ickiness that you may not see. So like, okay, I no longer want this energy around me, in my auric field. I want this energy to be gone. So really cleanse it off of me. You know, when you're eating the food, really have like this sense of like, okay, I am going to heal my body from the inside out, because answers come from within. You can't have a clear mind if you're eating shit food. Straight up. If you're eating processed, sugared, bad oils, dairy products, if you're eating all of those things, it is going to create mucus in the body, and it's going to create, you know, a negative inflammation. It is going to create, GI issues. I know because I lived it. I had leaky gut, I had small intestine bacterial overgrowth, and I had candida. And candida is about sugar, and candida and leaky gut go together. And so is the SIBO. They're all like one after the other. And I remember spending 2018 Christmas where I thought my lower belly, right below my breast, I was so bloated, I couldn't wear clothes. I had to wear like, I couldn't even, I was so uncomfortable going to work. So uncomfortable. And I had to take pills when I finally saw the GI doctor, and he was like, oh, you have SIBO. I had to take antibacterial medication for like 14 days, 3 times a day. Do you know how annoying that was? To clear something. And I asked him and I said, this is it. This is all I have to do. He's like, yeah, it'll go away. Okay. And then later on, I come to find out that all I had to do was actually eat better to reduce SIBO, to reduce leaky gut, and to reduce candida. And I was like, why didn't the GI tell me this? Why did I have to find all this out, by my own experiences?
I also want to say that we've given Western medicine the upper hand for like the longest time. Like, we've given Western medicine the upper hand. Everything can be cured with a pill, when we really need to go back to the earth, because that's how we were fixing ourselves before we had pills and injections that we needed to take. Everything comes from the plants. And if you ask me and you ask Naya, both of us are on the same page. You can always go back to the plant. It is not processed, and get really what you're trying to alleviate in your body. So
just to tap on what you just said, or to add to what you just said, is like you said that pharmaceuticals cures. There's no cures on any pharmaceutical medicine, by the way. And if you look back on any of the big pharmas, if you do a research, you will see that there has been no cure for anything ever since pharmaceuticals have been out, and they've been out for more than 100 years. Pharmaceuticals started right after World War II, when they realized all their soldiers were getting hurt, and so they decided to create these drugs in order to help soldiers. And then they realized how much money they were making on it. So they decided to make contaminated food and fruits, especially in the Western, especially in the United States, because they know that if they create a disease for people, then they're able to create a cure for it, which again is not even a cure because there has been no actual cures on hardly anything. They still can't cure cancer. And if you look at a lot of people who are a cancer patient, a lot of them that end up by continuing doing chemo, there are others, they can get better and go in remission, maybe or maybe not. But if you go, you have to treat the root cause of what the issue is. And the only way to do that is with actual medicine. Medicine is actual plants. They call it alternative medicine, but it's not alternative. It's the real medicine. It's actual Mother Earth's medicine. This is why God created it, right? It is free. It is free medicine. If you know what you're looking for, you can go into the forest and you can go into the places and cut it yourself. Like here where I live in Mexico, we have neem plant everywhere. And if you know what neem is good for, you know how good neem is. You're like, wow. We have spearmint for free. Like we have so many things that are growing out in nature. And again, like I said, if you know what to look for, you can just go get it yourself and cultivate it yourself and eat it and just know. But some people don't know. And if you don't know, you can just go to the store and obviously buy it. But then you can create your own little yard and have, grow your own little fruits and veggies if you have space for it. But to go back to really the question, like openness into your work is really like take the time out of your day to carve like 30 minutes aside. If it's today you want to journal or you want to dance, if you just want to sit in a shower and just really feel cleanse and tap into your energy, or you're just trying to dance to music, or trying to do a meditation or a breath work? Are you trying to do EFT tapping? Are you trying to do any somatic work? Are you trying to do yoga? Whatever it is, take some time out of the day. And if you have to do it, multiple times a day, just do it. But this is what will bring you back into your body and really calm down the monkey mind, because we get overstimulated with the people around us, with the food, with social media, with our work. We get really overstimulated with all of that. And so at some point we're like, okay, oh my God, like I need a break. Right? So it's like, how do you know you need a break? Oh, I need to take some time for myself. So that's kind of like what I would suggest to you guys or to you ladies to do, and to really help you more with your openness into your work.
Today, we've seen how honesty breaks barriers, builds trust, and even boosts conversions, turning human moments into business magic.
Pick one question we covered and try it this week. Share your own story or ask your audience something real. Then notice the shift.
If this resonated, please leave us a review so more entrepreneurs can find their courage.
And share this episode with someone ready to lead their heart.
As always, stay weird
and stay wild. See you on the next one.
That's it for today. If something hits home, share it or just sit with it.
Follow the show. We've got more coming soon.